says recording, so good to go. Good evening, and welcome to the St. Charles Parish Council meeting on Monday, January 10th, 2022, at 6 p.m. in the council chambers in the parish courthouse. Please silence all electronic devices and remove all hats. This meeting is called to order with a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance from Pastor Thomas Hines with the Hope Church in Destrehan. Pastor Hines.
Well, Happy New Year. Good evening. Glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. And would you join with me in prayer? Father, we love you. We thank you. We thank you for this day. We thank you, Lord, for a new year, a new beginning, a new opportunity. We pray, Lord, that this would be a year of recovery. Lord, not just to get back to where we were, but, Lord, to go beyond where we've ever been. Lord, we believe that you give us the ability, the power to do that, and we're believing that this year. We're believing that you're going to help us, Lord, to recover and help us to be the best that we've ever been. And Lord, I pray for this committee. I pray for the men and women who represent our community, Lord, that you would bless them with the wisdom and the knowledge and that they need, Lord, to lead us forward. And we pray for the citizens of this community, Lord, for every family, Lord, that they would have what they need and more than enough. Lord, I believe you've called us not just to be blessed, but to be a blessing to others. And I believe that's what St. Charles Parish is and will be in this year. And we thank you for it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Would you join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Hines. A motion and a second is needed to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of December 6th and the regular meeting of December 20th. I have a motion by Mr. Gibbs and a second by Ms. Billings. Please cast your votes. And that motion passes unanimously. Sorry about that. Thank you, Michelle. Special business and proclamations. 2021-0330. In recognition, Councilwoman Marilyn Belloc, 2020 Council Chairman. Marilyn, it's truly an honor. I learned so much from you last year. Kind of prepared me for the big stage. This is just a token, and it says, in recognition of service, the St. Charles Parish Council deeply appreciates your year of commitment as the Council Chairman of the St. Charles Parish Council, Marilyn B. Belloc, January 11, 2020 to December 20, 2021.
She's coming.
Mr. Chair, you already broke it.
Okay, 2021-0331. In recognition, Councilman Bob Fisher, 2021 Council Vice Chairman. Ms. Billings.
Yes, this is recognition, just like Marilyn's was. I think it's on. In recognition of service, the St. Charles Parish Council deeply appreciates your year of commitment as Council Vice Chairman of the St. Charles Parish Council, Bob Fisher, January 2021 through December 2021. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, next on our agenda is 2021-0332, a proclamation, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Ms. Gordon.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Whereas it is appropriate that on January 17, 2022, we celebrate and offer special recognition to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for his unselfish, nonviolent dedication to the civil rights movement. And whereas we recognize that his fortitude and dedication to the civil rights movement has carved a place for Dr. King in history for all races as a continual fight for freedom, equality, and justice. And whereas Dr. King, born in Atlanta, ordained a Baptist minister in 1954, received his doctorate from Boston University in 1955, received the 1964 Nobel Peace Prize, and became a leader of the U.S. civil rights, spoke from his heart on August 28, 1963, on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial when he gave his famous speech, "I Have a Dream." And whereas Dr. King's words rang out across America and became deeply rooted in the American dream, that we would follow the true meaning of the words of Abraham Lincoln. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, the true dream of Dr. King. And whereas Dr. King was assassinated on the balcony of the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee on April 4, 1968, marking a passage of history and understanding that Dr. King did not die in vain, but whose leadership and dreams will live on through history with the yearly celebration throughout the United States as a day of remembrance. So, in remembrance of the contribution of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as a leader of the civil rights movement, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the parish president, do hereby proclaim January 17, 2022 as Martin Luther King Jr. Day in St. Charles Parish. We have Ms. Lillian August here to accept.
On behalf of the Martin Luther King Organization, we thank you for this proclamation. And on Monday, the 17th of this month, we will have our march starting at 10:30 at the the Hale Boggs Bridge on the West Bank. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. August. 2021-0333, in recognition, St. Charles Catholic High School Comets Football 2021 LHSAA Division III State Champs. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairman. The Parish of St. Charles, January 10th, 2022, in recognition, the St. Charles Parish Catholic High School 2021 LHSAA Division III State Champions, undefeated 2021 football season. While we have every name of every player on this proclamation, I'll go ahead and read out the names of the St. Charles Parish residents. We have Dylan Alessandro, Hayden Anelaro Joseph, Aiden Authemont, Carson Barnes, Andrew Bosco, Eric Cater, Britton Dean, Luke Durst, Jackson Doster, Brock Dunn, Fourier Fobb, Haley Falgu, Riley Fultz, Nathan Gabriel, Kaysen Gilbert, Caden Jones, Colt Craig, Matthew Lemon, Abdel Naboot, Mohammed Naboot, Dylan Rosales, Charles Taylor, Alexis Thibault, Bo Toka, and Jacques Vickner. And here to accept this in attendance is Coach Wayne Stein and Principal Dr. Courtney Millay. And it looks like our football team is here.
So, Parish President Jewell and members of the council, just want to thank you. I'm Louis Althemar here on behalf of our head coach, Wayne Stein, who unfortunately could not make it today. This is a tremendous opportunity for the school. It's very much appreciated. As you can see, there are an awful lot of players from St. Charles Parish who go to St. Charles Catholic, which means there's a lot of families from St. Charles Parish that make up the St. Charles Catholic family. We are absolutely honored for this opportunity. These men and their parents, just like all of us, underwent and endured a heck of a lot of obstacles over the course of this last year. All of these men travel at least 20 to 25 miles a day, one way just to get to school, within the same distance to get back to home, sometimes at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. So to say that it's a sacrifice would be an understatement, but that's not the type of things that these people back down from. When we went to the state championship game, we had to get there in the back seat of cars of parents and grandparents because the charter buses couldn't make it because of an accident. But that didn't deter these guys from overcoming some pretty significant obstacles. The unofficial line was we were not favored by 25 or 28 points. So we were a 28-point underdog, but yet they prevailed. So it's an honor to be here. St. Charles Catholic doesn't just have a mission, it is a mission of educating the mind, building the body, and feeding the soul. We take that mission very seriously and thank the River Parishes for the opportunity to do just that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, can you have somebody in the front row? Everybody else, if you go in the front row too. I don't think they'll be able to see they're all about it. Make sure you like little. All right, guys, there you go.
No, you can't kneel down.
Back in the front.
Can they kneel down?
They might not be able to see it.
Come right here. I'm sorry.
It's the podium, guys. It's the podium.
Got it?
Let's go comments. Louis said enough. No, we're good. He said it all.
Very nice.
Okay, go ahead and get back to our agenda. Next on the agenda is 2021-0292, an ordinance authorizing the issuance and the sale of not to exceed $20 million of hurricane recovery revenue notes of the Parish of St. Charles, State of Louisiana, and providing for other matters in connection wherein. Mr. Dewsome? Mr. Akers?
Thank you, council members. Jason Akers with Foley and Udell. I'll note in the notes on the agenda that there is an amendment to be approved, so just want to make sure that as the time is proper for the motion, that the amended ordinance is actually up for adoption for you. And the change is that the amended ordinance actually reflects the terms of the commitment letter received from Regions Bank between the time of the original introduction last month and the adoption this month. And the interest rate that is proposed by Regions is a 3.15% interest rate. This is a hurricane recovery loan, as we've discussed previously, that is going to allow you to continue to pay the costs associated with recovery from Ida. The $20 million, and I'll speak to my understanding and ask that the administration please correct me or amplify anything that I happen to say here, but the $20 million exceeds or is right at the amount that you have already expended for debris removal and other associated costs. And therefore, as opposed to doing a drawdown where we had talked about the concept of you being able to request money as needed, you've already got a need for $20 million. So the idea is that the $20 million is going to be advanced at closing. It's a 3.15% interest rate. That interest rate is fixed throughout the life. It's interest only for the first 2 years until 2024, and at that point you can make a decision whether to pay it all off, pay a portion of it off and amortize the rest, or just amortize it over the remaining life of the loan. That's a decision to be made in 2023, leading it up to January 1 of 2024, but at the minimum, this buys you time to get to that point to make the decision of what you're doing with recovery and other costs associated moving forward. The other changes are to reflect the maturity schedule. If there is no prepayment, the maturity schedule that would be in effect from that point forward. The note form reflects both the interest rate and the maturity schedule, and the final term of the commitment letter, which has the actual interest rate inserted, is included as an exhibit to the amended ordinance. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I know you have a public hearing, so I'll step to the side at the time when the time's proper.
Thank you, Mr. Akers. I have a motion by Ms. Fonseca, second by Ms. Perrier, to accept the revised version of the proposed ordinance and exhibits. Is there any council discussion on the amended proposal? Seeing none, please cast your votes to accept the revised version of the proposed ordinance and exhibits. Okay, that motion passed unanimously. File number 2021-0292 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Is there any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2021-292 as amended. And that motion passes unanimously. Reports, Finance Administration Activities. 2022-006, Geographical Information Systems. Mr. Martinez.
All right, good evening, council members. Parish President Matthew Jewell. I'm here to give you a brief top-level summary of the current activities and some of the planned activities from our department for 2022. Let's see. Oh, it's not working. I'll just talk to it. I don't think this slides. Oh, Oh, now it pops up right there. I can change. Yep. Okay. All right, so currently what we're working on is trying to wrap up our data collection for the Hurricane Ida response. There were a lot, I'm kind of jump around that slide a little bit. We were actually caught kind of off guard with how much data that the parish would actually need for something like a response of this magnitude. So we had developed kind of on the fly some mobile applications for the various departments to go out and collect some of this data that we were going to report to FEMA. So instead of cataloging everything on paper forms and having to bring it back into the office and either digitize it or enter it manually, we're able to collect a lot of that information using either phones or iPads. One of the ones that we're working on wrapping up right now is for the signage, the street signs. We have well over 1,000 signs that have been replaced. So we were documenting the picture before they replaced it, like the damage, and then document every piece and part of the sign. Which I was actually taking aside how many parts there go to a sign. So every time that the sign tag records a point, he enters all the pieces that he goes to, and it computes a price associated with that. And then there's a line item at the bottom of the spreadsheet or the database that we can submit to the grants office, and it takes out a lot of legwork for them. So it's attached to the work orders and everything, and we could just quickly provide a summary of what's been installed or replaced. We also I'm working on the QA/QC for the West Bank drainage study. Similar to what we had done in Ormond, there's a lot of changes that go on throughout the year that we might not be aware of. So we're actually out there, going through the data with a fine-tooth comb and looking at all the, ground level stuff that's been changed and make sure that what we have in the database and are going to provide to the modelers and engineers reflects what's in the GIS. So that's a very key component, because if we give them the wrong information, they model something wrong, and lo and behold, they build something off of bad data. It can turn out pretty bad. So we just provided T. Baker Smith and CESS with a lot of the data that we've been working on since October. We did a significant amount of canal profiles, levee profiles, and reshooting some culvert inverts and making sure that the data is up to date. So that's out of my hands pretty much now as of probably this week. And similar to this is the Servitudes Database. That's going to be ongoing. We've mentioned that before for the last year or so, which has turned out to be a really good tool for Public Works, and other departments, because they can actually look on the map on the web application and find out if there's a servitude where they're about to do some work. So it's turned out to be a good move to go ahead and do that. The third-party app integration, as GIS becomes more mainstream in the public, we're starting to see a lot more, not just departments, but software packages try to tap into our GIS. So luckily, we have a lot of the data already collected, built over the past few years that we're able to tie into My Permit Now. The one I'm working on right now is we started with AssetWorks, but we're doing the water CAD, so with the models for the water system. So that's in the early stages of that. And with there were a lot of lessons learned, like I mentioned earlier, with the storm response. We're going to take the time to look at some of the things that we did right, some of the things we could have done better, or some of the things that we did wrong. Like I said, nobody expected anything of this magnitude, and we were actually, learned so much about stuff that we could have pre-made before that can help a lot of the departments. So it was, an eye-opener for me, but we're going to sit back and, look at it as something good. And I've already spoken to some of the software companies that, the limitations of the software, and then we're going to kind of work together with them and move forward. And just recently, we launched the Rsvp reported application, which is it's kind of like the second version of the resident reporting application where residents can submit requests for garbage cans, report streetlight outages or debris pickup removal or mosquito problems. It's clunky a little bit right now. It's in its first stages, but we're plans are to go ahead and rebuild that, retool this. We're going to meet with some of the administration and kind of see how we can do things better. So if you haven't seen it yet, I think in the first 3 or 4 days, we got probably 600 requests in. So it's getting hit a lot. So it's, we're going to run some analytics. I have some analytics on the back end of it so we can find out, what's being used, how it's being used. And we're going to look at that and work with Sam, the Public Information Office, and, do a fair amount of outreach and see how we can improve it. Not just on the front end for the residents, how we can expand it to do other things also, but on the back end, We're trying to make it easier for the contract monitor's office and the other people that use this application to be able to use it as a valuable tool without clicking on so many things and, be able to use it on a day-to-day basis. So, and that's all I have. If you have any questions, I have a link to it, but I just put it there in case somebody wanted to see it if they hadn't seen it yet. But that's all I have this evening.
All right, thank you, Louis. It's one of the best things I've ever seen. Ms. Cooley has a question. Ms. Cooley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the street signs, I know that's probably Public Works putting them back, installing them. Did they start in certain areas, or are they just kind of like hit and miss, or?
I know they were trying to address the stop signs first.
Okay.
So I know that they started, I don't know about a specific town or anything, but I know they started with stop signs. I think last time I checked, they had like 1,129 signs, but that's poles, not just signs. Some signs have some poles have multiple signs, and so they've done a good bit amount of work so far.
And street signs, the
names?
I know, because of deliveries, and it's kind of hard sometimes for the delivery companies to make deliveries when there's no street sign. And I know in some locations, the physical sign may still be on site, just knocked down. I don't know if that...
Well, they're documenting that, so they'll take, in order, I guess, to get FEMA funds or reimbursement for it, we want to take pictures of it, document, because they're really stringent on, recording and documenting everything. So went ahead and built something that could say, hey, here's what it looked like before, and here's what it looks like now. So it's all stored in the database. So what I did is I created a module on there that generates a report. So we can create a report, and it's a one-pager, and it shows these are the coordinates, this is, all the stuff. It's the dimensions of the sign. I mean, there's a lot more than I thought that went into it, But, so yeah, at least we have proof, documentation that this is being done, so.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Perrier?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know, Parish President Jewell mentioned we were inundated with out street lights throughout the parish last meeting. I know we still are hacking away at it. So you've probably been inundated, as you mentioned, with street light requests. But you have a few different requests when the residents go to the website. They go to a few different departments. Do they automatically go to those departments, or is somebody making sure they get there?
No. It's automatic.
It is.
It's based on the category, who it goes to. So in the back end, it says if it's this, it goes to, it goes here. There.
I was just wondering if there was any sort of lag time between the time they submit their request and where it gets to where it's supposed to be going. I know.
It's automatic.
I know we're doing everything we can, and all you're doing is
I'm
just trying to get you the messenger.
Yeah, it is.
You're
It
just
sends them an
messenger.
email, actually. It sends an email.
Okay.
But what they have to do now is physically open it on the managing side of the application and generate a report. Well, the next thing I want to do is basically say, you come in and you submit a streetlight outage, it automatically generates a report that they can attach to a work order or a PO.
Nice.
That's one thing, let's say, that they have to do, that
Right.
our offices have to do.
Okay.
And it automatically sends emails. So it sends you an email that your request has been received. I disabled the function to keep them in the status of where, is in progress, but that's going to be turned back on in the next version. So.
Okay. I appreciate all that you do to try to put the pieces
thanks.
together. It's very helpful, the things that you provided us, so thank you.
Well, thank you.
Ms. Belloc?
Mr. Martinez, how are you?
Pretty good.
How do we help the people that do not use your system and are constantly calling, wondering when are their streetlights going to get repaired, right? So can you give us like a timeline for the people that have already reported their streetlights out but haven't gotten them repaired?
That would be a contract monitor's office question. That would be a contract monitor's office question. I mean, Chandra's group in Public Works, I think, handles that. On our end, I think that there's a link, not just a link to the application, to the software. It's I think that gives you the phone number to the office to call and report. So that'd be more interaction between the resident and that office.
Thank you.
So,
All right. Thank you, Lewis. Appreciate it.
hey, thank you. Y'all have a good one.
Next up, 2022-007, German Coast Farmers Market, Ms. Ann Montgomery.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to update you and the parish on what's happening at the German Coast Farmers Market. Believe it or not, we're in our 19th year of operation on the East Bank and 16th year of operation on the West Bank. Hurricane Ida is responsible for significant market changes. Hopefully all of you know about them, but I'm here to make sure that you do. Both market locations became staging areas for vehicles used for parish hurricane recovery during the months following the hurricane. Our vendors, after a few weeks following Ida, were ready to return to the market. After contacting Leanne Benedict, Director of St. Charles Parish Libraries, we quickly were given permission to use the East Bank Regional Library's parking lot to host our East Bank Market, instead of at Ormond Plantation, where the trucks were staged and we weren't allowed back. With only one day to get the word out, we held our first post-Ida market on September 26th, with about 500 patrons actually finding us and 20 vendors coming to sell their goods. We had a few growing pains, mainly parking issues at a few markets, but other than that, operations have been running quite smoothly. Our new venue for the past 3.5 months will be our permanent home after the library board approved our request to partner with them on Saturday mornings. We are presently in the process of setting up electrical installation for our vendors and musicians. The library personnel have been very helpful with our transition, and we genuinely thank them for working so closely with us. A few things that made us want to make this a permanent location is the cement foundation instead of the slag, which allows people who are with walkers and canes and wheelchairs and strollers much more friendly foundation. They have clean, convenient restrooms and great ideas for programs, and additional booth setup areas and parking, just to name a few of the advantages. Moving on to our West Bank location. After 4 months, the West Bank location reopened just last Wednesday. We had 10 vendors and about 300 patrons who attended. The West Bank Market relocated to the West Bank Bridge Park about a year ago. After several moves over the past years, hopefully we've found our perfect location for this market. It was thriving in both attendance and vendors before Ida wreaked havoc on St. Charles Parish. We wish to thank the St. Charles Parish Recreation Department, led by Dwayne Foray, for welcoming us as a weekly event on the West Bank Park grounds. Our SNAP program is growing by leaps and bounds. Our Market Match program, sponsored by United Way, has helped both the vendor sales and needy families during these difficult times of the pandemic and after Ida. We also accept credit cards for any item at the market by using our SNAP terminal for these similar transactions. This has been a plus for market sales. We have been operating the market without a market site coordinator since July. We have had no serious applicant for the position until this past weekend. We will meet with this highly sought-after person on Wednesday at the market to discuss the details of the job. The market board has been taking care of behind-the-scenes details along with running the market during the hours of operation. The last several months have been challenging, but this has given us an opportunity to fine-tune some of the market operations. The result is a market that runs a bit smoother. The market board, the vendors, and the patrons wish to express their appreciation to the St. Charles Parish Council, Parish President, and Parish Directors of Libraries and Recreation for their cooperation and support. It's been a year filled with challenges, but we are looking forward to a safe and successful 2022. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Ms. I recognize you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'm so glad that your West Bank site is reopened. I actually went last Wednesday.
I know.
Good to see it back open. So thank you, and I think y'all are doing a great job.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Montgomery. 2022-008, the parish president's remarks or report. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairman. Congratulations on your first meeting. Happy New Year. Welcome back. And I share Ms. Montgomery's, hope for a safe and uneventful 2022. Hopefully, the most thing we have to worry about is the traffic jams that the farmers market causes at the West Bank Bridge Park. So, all right. I guess I'll just go ahead and just start with streetlights. I don't have that in my report today. But Councilwoman Belloc brought that up. So pretty much everything you see on SCP report, it goes straight to Chandra. Mosquito control, streetlights, garbage cans, those are all falling within the contract monitor. So she gets an automatic email. For residents who don't use computers, they can certainly call 783-5000 and ask for the contract monitor's office and put in a request directly. She takes both requests via email and via phone. But what I'll say is St. Charles Parish's contractor who fixes streetlights has pretty much fixed every single metal poled streetlight in St. Charles Parish that can be fixed that is not an Entergy issue. If you have a streetlight that isn't fixed right now, if you want to send me an email with that, it's most likely an Entergy issue, a feed issue on that street pole. So we've got about 680 of them fixed. In the last 60 or so is Entergy feed issues. Entergy is hiring a contractor. They're supposed to be awarding it any day now, an award to a contractor for a contractor to come in and fix all of the street lights that are on wooden poles en masse. So I wish I did have an update, a little bit more information on wooden street lights, but my contact at Entergy didn't have much to say on it either. So I'm hoping when they award the contract and the contractor has the number of streetlights they have to fix, that they'll be able to give us a more, stringent timeline on what that is. All right, we do have two representatives in the audience today, one from Senator Kennedy's office. We have Joe Crofassi, and we also have a representative from Senator Cassidy's office, Samantha Bopp. Thank you all for being here today. Want to do a COVID update. So current COVID numbers. Today, LDH has reported a total of 11,150 positive COVID-19 cases in St. Charles Parish since the beginning of the pandemic in 2020. Over the last week, we have averaged about 135 new cases per day. That brings our total to 970 over the last 7 days. Testing sites, we posted some information over the weekend. We've been working with Access Health and the hospital as we saw the demand for testing to come back. So you have Access Health in Norco, located at 16004 River Road. That's over in Norco. From Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. They are doing testing, as well as St. Charles Parish Hospital. They are doing PCR testing Mondays 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. We are asking residents to not go to the emergency room for a test. That is not what the emergency room is for. And by doing that, you potentially risk someone else's life with a real emergency. Vaccination information. Residents who are interested in receiving the vaccine can visit vaccines.gov for the locations nearest you. There really are too many to list out, but that website has all of that information. You just go to it, put in your zip code, and you can get all the locations near you where you can receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Public Works, just give you a general update on some of the stuff we've been doing. Obviously, a lot of storm-related work still to be done. We did some debris removal from Collier Canal in Luling. There was canal cleaning in near Scheck-Snyder Pump Station, as well as asphalt repair on Barber Road and Louisiana Street over in Parity. So these are just a couple of things that the crews have been working on. They redid some shoulder work over on Paul Mallard Road as well. So those guys have been busy and back at work full swing, and we are excited that we've been able to roll out some improvements in our work orders and our ability to track work orders through Asset Works and through the use of technology. So we look forward to continue to try to improve and be more efficient. All right, we'll move on to debris deadline or debris removal deadline. Today is the final day for residents to put out debris. So after this, our final pass will begin tomorrow. Per parish ordinance, additional construction debris will need to be properly disposed of. That is by working with your contractor or obtaining a dumpster. You can also call the Department of Planning and Zoning and talk to them about options for that. We also have Christmas tree recycling going on as a part of the coastal restoration. As part of coastal restoration, St. Charles Parish is participating in the annual Christmas tree recycling program. Curbside Christmas tree recycling began today and will run through January 21st. Only real trees will be picked up, and trees must be free from lights, ornaments, or flocking to be able to be used in the coastal restoration. Trees may also be dropped off at designated areas, but at both the East Bank and West Bank Bridge Parks. On to spring sports registration. Registration will be online only and begins tomorrow, January 11th, for baseball, softball, t-ball, tennis, track, and field. It's important that parents register their child with the correct booster club. Very, very important. Make sure you go to your correct booster club. If you need more information on that, you can go to scpparksandrec.com. And while we're on the topic of recreation, I do want to thank Gail Benson and the Pelicans organization who sponsored our youth basketball this year. We were able to allow a free registration to all participants. So no one participating in our basketball program this year will have to pay a registration. Right now we have 88 teams, and that is 831 athletes in this program. So a very big show from the community, and we definitely think that since it was free, that helped. And we, again, appreciate Gail Benson for helping out St. Charles Parish during this time. We know a lot of residents are putting every penny they have back into rebuilding their homes. So we were happy to be able to offer that for recreation. All right, we have our RSVP MLK book drive. You might have seen this flyer go out on Facebook or the Herald Guide. So throughout the month of January, RSVP will be collecting books through their MLK book drive. So we're looking for gently used school-aged books that can be dropped off at the Edward A. Dufresne Community Center. You can drop that off at any time during working hours. And again, that is for the Martin Luther King book drive. Over to sales tax figures. November sales tax equaled $3,288,931.77, which is a 16.33% decrease from November of 2020, likely from Hurricane Ida related. We've seen just a little bit of delay in that. Grant, was that both payments on that? Okay. While we saw a significant decrease for the month of November, we're still up 8% year over year, and we will look forward to updating you all on December's numbers as well. Lastly, we have job openings in St. Charles Parish, the organization. We have a carpenter, equipment operators 1, 2, and 3, grass cutter, groundskeeper, laborer, and shop mechanic helper. That concludes my report, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Ms. Perrier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know DRC really had a huge task in front of them after Ida, and they did a really good job. But I do want to go back to the debris pickup. We've come to the end. They did as much as they possibly could do. I should say as much as humanly possible. They really did a good job. But we do still have some piles. I know you mentioned if they still have piles, they need to work with their contractor. What about piles that we know and we have documented that were there? How are we going to handle those?
So there's going to be a closeout process. They've spent, while DRC's been picking up these last couple weeks after they kind of took a little break for the Christmas and New Year, as we've seen this debris deadline come out, we've seen a lot of stuff building. We know that there's some stuff out there still that might just not have gotten a truck pass in front of it for probably a month. So we sent them out last week and the week before to assess the entire parish again to kind of formulate their game plan.
Right.
And again, we've seen it starting to build up again after, as that debris deadline comes near, which is good because that's what these contractors work by the load. So it's better to get them in and be able to get a lot of trucks on the ground. So what's going to happen now is we're going to go into a what they call closeout. So the debris truck is going to go down Wade Street, for example, and that monitor is going to go down Wade Street as well. And once they completely clean Wade Street, that monitor is going to close that street out in the monitor system. They're going to go through each and every street and close it out. So there should not be any street left over that still has debris. And obviously, when we get towards the end of closeout, I will alert the council, hey, we're nearing 75% completion. If you guys still have piles on your street, you should alert me. That way we can get those picked up.
Okay, because I did, I sent to Chandra my list. I think I copied you.
Yes.
Before today, of course. These were the things that I'd seen and had calls about. So we know they're there, and we know they were there before today. So those will get tended to as they do this closeout process. Any idea how long the closeout process is supposed to take?
I can find out how long it should take. I mean, obviously, their assessment should show how much debris they estimate is out on the streets.
It's not, I wouldn't think it's anywhere near what they started with.
No, for sure. But I would assume that's going to take a couple of weeks to run every street in the parish. And then, at the end of it, again, they'll have closeout. So we'll be able to know when we close out a street. And if someone is calling and saying, hey, y'all didn't pick up my debris, we should be able to pull up and say, well, this street was closed out. And if they can prove that it was out before that, then we'll have to have a conversation with the monitor and DRC as well.
Okay, that helps, because I know some of them had that panic-stricken feeling. January 10th is here, and my fence is still sitting there. So.
It's a really it's kind of heartbreaking because you have so many people who still are going to generate debris because of they're litigating with their insurance company, or they're having contractor issues. So we'll have to work through some of those issues as well.
And we will still have the capability as the parish to send out our boom trucks.
Yeah,
if we need to at some point.
Yeah, we're going to have Pelican will begin picking up bulk debris as well.
Right.
But we'll have to fall back to our ordinances. So
10 cubic yards.
Yeah, 10 cubic yards. If you have a tree cut by a contractor, that's not going to be picked up. The contractor's responsible for taking that debris away. So could be potential challenges, but we're going to see what options we have with DRC.
Sure.
To be able to work with them.
But again, I want the residents to understand, and every time I talk to them, I've been saying this, it doesn't mean that it all halts completely. We still have capabilities up to a certain extent. So, all right, thank you.
Ms. Cooley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Did I hear you right that the residents need to notify the parish if a street light is out, or it's only on the metal poles?
No, we certainly, if you have a wooden streetlight pole that's out, I think probably a vast majority of our parish is wooden streetlight poles. If they have a streetlight out, they can certainly report it. We've done an assessment throughout the parish,
So you already know.
and Entergy has done an assessment as well. So I'm going to come back to you guys and like kind of declare victory. We fixed all the streetlights.
Okay.
And if we have still have streetlights out after that, then we'll have to go back to,
So until
we're not
then-
ready to declare victory yet.
Until then, you don't need a call from every resident that has.
No, I mean, they can certainly go report it. We'll probably, you can let anybody know, we most likely have it on the list already. Yeah, no, yeah. And look, there's a section of Highway 90, basically from Domino's to Sonic, where they've replaced every single pole. And it's very dark through there right now because they did not replace the streetlights back on there. So that's one of those areas that I've told them, we need to make sure we get those back up. I don't want that to be forgotten. They have to bring in some smaller transformers and other equipment to pull all that back up.
Ms. Billings.
Mr. Jewell, in the past, you discussed that the parish and the state have an understanding about the cleanup of interstates and highways here in the parish. How long will that go on? Is that still happening now?
Yeah, we've been coordinating with Cycle Construction, who is the DOTD's contractor. They're basically following our debris deadline on this, so they'll be running their final pass as well. I've worked closely with them on certain streets in various council members' districts that they've requested, but they should be doing the exact same thing. They have the same process we have. They have a debris monitor and a contractor, so.
So if we see dumping along Airline Highway where someone has dumped a load like they did near Muntz, do we contact the parish or should we contact DOTD or?
If you want, I can get you, you can certainly contact us. We're probably just gonna call the state's contractor directly. And if you want, I can share that number with you as well.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Palamon's already contacted them on that, so. My question is the same thing, Mr. Jewell. There are a couple of items and a couple of piles that the state has deemed, that they've deemed that it's not should be picked up. What can we do to make sure that stuff gets? A good example is there was a brick fence on Apple Street that was blown down during the hurricane. They've made several passes through it. They haven't even addressed it. There were several trees that were uprooted on River Road. They still haven't attached, it's like they're picking and choosing. They go get the big stuff and things like that. What can we do to make sure that we're going to get those items picked up?
And those are items you've talked to the Dan about?
Yep, spoke to the monitor, the state's monitor, and the coordinator with our cycle.
Yeah, we're certainly going to make sure that we're going to work to make sure everything gets picked up. But like Councilwoman Fisher said, we have the ability to send in our crews as well to get some of these picked up. So, before DRC or cycle rolls out, we want to make sure that you all are pleased with what has happened, what has been picked up in your districts, and before they leave, we got to make sure it's all out.
Ordinance resolutions introduced for publication, public hearing on Monday, January 24th, 2022, 6 p.m., Council Chambers Courthouse in Hanville. 2021-0034. Please note that there's a corporate resolution is in the supplemental agenda. 2021-0335. 2021-0336. 2022-0009. Additional data was placed at your seats tonight. 2022-0010. Planning and zoning petitions. 2021-0321. An ordinance to amend the St. Charles Parish zoning ordinance of 1981 to change the zoning classifications from R-1A to R-1AM on a 5,100 square foot portion of Lot 2, Palmer Lane, Alma, as requested by Michelle Petit on the behalf of the property owner, Curtis Petit. Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The request is for an R1A property to be rezoned to R1AM on a portion of ground near River Road to accommodate a mobile home. 2 residential units exist already on site, one site-built and the other one mobile. If approved, the site would be split zoned. The request does not meet any of the three criteria by staff review. The department as well as the Planning Commission recommended denial. If this is approved, in order for anything to actually be built on this portion of ground, the applicant would have to further subdivide and come to council for waiver request on that subdivision. We viewed this as a spot zoning and recommended denial. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albert. File number 2021-0324 is now open for public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi,
Hello.
my name is Michelle P.T. Right now, I'm 112 Pine Street in Bayou Gauche. We previously had another mobile home on this property right before Katrina. We are looking to put another one back. It's all family. It's a family street. It's a dead-end street. There's an airstrip at the end of it. So really nobody that doesn't live down there doesn't belong down the street. It is my father's property. My father is elderly. He couldn't be here tonight. He's back in the hospital again. The other mobile home is my aunt. She's elderly. So trying to get back there to take care of both of them. So I don't know. I mean, we would like to have it approved so we can get back over there. There's not really many places to rent right now in the parish. There's not really many places to buy right now in the parish. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else like to come up and speak regarding this item? Okay, seeing none, public hearing is closed. Is there any council discussion? Ms. Cooley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Several years ago, these properties were taken out of R1 AM zoning to try to upgrade the housing stock, I guess, for AMA. So any trailers that had been moved out had 6 months to move back in. And since the trailer had been gone for longer than 6 months, it would have lost its grandfather status. I know a lot of properties in AMA are subject to less and less infrastructure just because of the narrow streets, because of the lack of subdividing a property so that there's actual better street access. And I think to just add another mobile home does not enhance that situation. So right now, I just can't support it to put another trailer on this property until some infrastructure can be added to help that. I don't know, maybe a home can fit, or maybe the trailer could be changed. I'm not sure. I just can't support this at this time.
Ms. Billings.
Mr. Albert, in reading about this particular petition, there was reference to they had not accomplished anything going towards making it better to place, to subdivide and do that. Can you tell us what would have to be done to allow?
So, yeah, there is a calculation that's done. If you were to assume this whole property R1 AM and it was a family plot, you can have so many houses per so many square feet. Even if this was approved and even further back, so that the whole site was that, they would not have enough square footage to accommodate 3 housing units currently, which is why a piece would have to be subdivided off, kind of resetting the balance for that portion of ground.
And that has not been done? They haven't.
No, we wouldn't even recommend doing that unless the rezoning had been approved, because it would present significant challenges.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Bellick, I apologize. I thought you wanted to speak. I think I knocked you out. Okay. All right. Any more council discussion? Can please cast your votes for file number 2021-0324. And that motion fails unanimously. Ordinance is scheduled for public hearing, introduced at previous meetings. 2021-0225, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement with EJES Incorporated to perform engineering services for Kindler and Paul Frederick Roadway and Drainage Improvements, project number P210704, not to exceed $385,955. Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Chairman Fisher, and congratulations on your new position. The streets of Kindler and Paul Frederick have routinely experienced significant flooding, resulting in the roads being impassable for long periods of time. Flooding has also caused significant degradation of the roadway surface and the base material of the roadway. The administration desires to hire EJS as a consultant to provide the professional services required to complete the design of the roadway and drainage improvements for Kindler and Paul Frederick streets between Hackberry and Brooklyn Street. As part of this contract, the consultant will perform a topographic survey of the roadway and associated ditches to establish an existing profile and drainage patterns. Geotechnical services may be required to establish a new roadway section and the base for any major culvert crossings. Once the field data has been collected and evaluated, the consultant will prepare plans and specifications for the roadway and drainage improvements. The design will include a full-depth asphalt pavement replacement with drainage improvements on Kindler and Paul Frederick. Where possible, the roadway surface will be milled and overlaid. However, there are some areas that have experienced significant degradation. The roadway base and/or asphalt will be replaced. New driveway culverts and aprons will be installed to facilitate drainage. The project also includes the development of a new ditch canal to the west of Kindler Street and the development of outfalls to the ditch and canal at the mid-block areas at ends of both streets. This will reduce the area that the water has to flow. Right now, part of the problem is the ditches get very full and they overflow into people's property. By establishing mid-block drainage, we'll cut that area down from like 4,500 feet of drainage distance to maybe 1,000 or so.
Make sure your microphone's on, please.
I'm sorry. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Existing roadside ditches will be reshaped and resloped to channel water to the new outfalls. The consultant will also be responsible for the coordination with private utility companies for documentation and relocation of their utilities as needed. The Public Works Department therefore recommends approval of this ordinance to approve and authorize the execution of a professional service agreement with EJES. Thank you.
File number 2021-0225 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Any council discussion? Excuse me. Miles, I have one question. So,
yes, sir.
All the improvements, projects on this, it also reflects the West Bank Master Drainage Plan suggestions?
This is a little ahead of the Master Drainage Plan, Councilman. This is an area that I've driven through many times during major rain events, looked at what's happening, and we feel like something is needed now. And so we looked at the way we could actually fix this problem internally in my department. So we're moving ahead, a little bit ahead of the Master Drainage Plan. This is more of a micro analysis area rather than a macro, which is the Master Drainage Plans are macro, which looks at a big area and how it flows. This is more on a micro level where you're looking at an individual localized area.
Okay. Ms. Perry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, this is clearly problems that were identified far before a master drainage plan even began. If you look at the condition of the road, it's clear that's what's been going on for years and years. I do have a little concern, kind of like Councilman Fisher. I think the reason he's asking is to make sure that we're all looking at this comprehensively. So Ashton, which is right behind this subdivision, Gaston Street, right behind these two streets we mentioned, Paul Mallard, all of those are surrounding boundaries. Are we taking into account what those are planned to be when it comes to drainage improvements? Because, you know, it kind of seems like we're just spot fixing. No?
Okay, so to answer the question on Paul Mallard, we have a major project with the DOTD that's already in the works,
Okay.
which will identify, basically address their drainage problems along Paul Mallard.
Okay.
That is one of your boundary conditions. There's this gas and the ditch that's there right now is not big enough. It's not helping anyone in that area. By moving to enlarge that ditch and improve that ditch, we're going to help everyone also in that same area. There's another ditch that's between Ashton and this neighborhood, which handles the water from that area. So it's not a spot fix. It's more of a, it's looking at what we already have as infrastructure and trying to improve that to help everyone.
As long as I think we're simultaneously looking at the surroundings, because I know Luling Estates had some pretty close calls in some of our rain events, which is right behind as well. So, I'm glad to see this work being done. It's very clear that it's been needed for a long time. So as long as we're making sure that we're simultaneously working on those surroundings so we don't cause another problem, for the interim. So, thank you.
Ms. Gordon?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Miles, what bearings will this work have on the opposite side of Canal Drive, which is the Blueberry Hill on that side of the highway?
Okay, so one of the things that this is looking at is that main ditch. There's the Hackberry pump station, which takes a lot of the water that Councilwoman Fisher was talking about, which pushes water into that same ditch. And this ditch goes across the street and goes back behind this other, where you've got Kindler and Paul Frederick. We're going to be looking at improving that ditch all the way down, which will help all of those neighborhoods. So where you're talking about, that will be benefited by improving the ditch. The water will get carried out of there faster.
Mr. Jewell?
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to make a general statement that anytime we have a planned project or a project that we're putting in the works, we always let the master drainage plan engineers to add that into their model and model it with that fix in there. So they'll model it fixed and unfixed. So by the time it comes that we should have the master drainage plan for that Luling area before we have the full plans for this project, I would think. Or they might come around the same time. We'll be able to use the model to tweak those plans, just like we did with the 5th Street drainage project.
Okay. Any more council discussion? Please cast your votes for file number 2021-0225. And that passes unanimously. 2021-0328, an ordinance to approve and authorize the execution of a professional services agreement between St. Charles Parish and the South Central Planning and Development Commission to develop a reapportionment plan based upon the 2020 census not to exceed the cost of $30,000. File number 2021-0328 is now open for public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and your address for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Any council discussion? Ms. Perrier?
I have a couple of questions. Mr. Belanger, you want to come up? Okay. Thanks for coming tonight. I read through the redistricting plan. Looking forward to it. You mentioned the redistricting committee in the plan, and it says it can include all or it should include council members. Does that mean all council members will be included in the process?
All councilmen will be included in the process, but to expedite the actual process, sometimes councils initiate a committee to work through.
Okay.
And then we report back to the full council. But every councilman will be individually attended to and met with.
Okay. I mean, our committees in St. Charles usually consist of the whole council.
That's fine.
Doesn't mean we all come to each committee, but it's usually
fine.
that way.
Either or.
Okay. I didn't know if there was some specific layout for that.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So it looks like a quick timeline, effective November 2022 from what you've laid out.
That's correct.
Okay. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I apologize, Ms. Perry. I did have some notes written on it, saying what we can do, but it's a very aggressive timeline, I guess, with everything else, what's going on in the state and all of that. But I guess it's similar. South Central Planning did the 2010 one. And like I said, I talked with the administration on that, and they did a very fine job, so that's why we're going to go ahead and do this again. So, any other discussion? Could you please cast your votes for file number 2021-0328? And that motion passes unanimously. 2021-0337, a resolution requesting the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development to install signal lights at the intersection of U.S. Highway 90 westbound and LA 182 in Raceland. Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to give you all some background on this resolution. On December 9th, the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development held a press conference following a sharp increase in fatal crashes over the Thanksgiving weekend. DOTD Secretary Dr. Wilson reported Thanksgiving weekend was the most deadly in 7 years, with 15 crashes and 26 fatalities. As you can see from the graphic on the handout that was distributed to each of you, the numbers continued to climb between Thanksgiving and mid-December, 48 crashes with 54 fatalities. Lafourche Parish stands out with 3 crashes and 7 fatalities. As Dr. Wilson stated, there are families that are no longer going to be the same. I can attest to that because minutes after leaving a family gathering on Thanksgiving Day in Des Allemands, to return to their home in Raceland, sorry.
Take your time.
My niece, Michelle. Sorry.
Okay.
Try to get through this. Michelle Fonseca Moore, excuse me, and her husband, Dustin Moore, were 2 of the 4 people killed in a crash at this intersection of U.S. Highway 90 westbound and LA Highway 182 in Raceland when a driver failed to yield and entered their path. Their 7-year-old son, Micah, survived and is now without his parents. In the week following the crash, I spoke with Chris Morvant, head of DOTD District 2, who informed me that DOTD had noted the sharp uptick in fatal crashes. He had already visited the site of the crash to observe the traffic flow, and that a traffic study would be performed to determine what improvements could be made. I know a meeting was also held the Thursday following the crash at the Louisiana State Troop C, State Police Troop C in Homa, with DOTD and regional traffic safety partners to discuss the climbing number of crash fatalities. I also spoke with other regional elected officials, Senator Smith, Representative Miller, Representative Fontenot, Representative Ogeron, Parish President Jewell, Lafourche Parish President Chasson, and Lafourche Parish Councilman Araby, who are committed to supporting safety improvements at this dangerous intersection. Councilman Araby is sponsoring a similar resolution on the Lafourche Parish Council agenda tomorrow night. I'd like to personally thank them all for their efforts and support. If you're not familiar with this intersection, LA 182 is the highway on the westbound side of US 90 before the Raceland overpass, where you would veer off of Highway 90 and you pass the sugarcane mill. It's directly across what would have been the former fruit stand that was there for many years. It's no longer there. I'm very aware of how dangerous this intersection is because I commuted to Nichols for 9 years. It's always been dangerous. We all have constituents that travel past this intersection, whether it be for work, to attend school at Nichols or Fletcher, or another purpose, including evacuations. Despite DOTD having installed caution lights and an acceleration lane over the years, fatal crashes continue to happen here. I ask that you please join me in supporting this resolution, requesting that DOTD install signal lights at the intersection, because I really don't want any more fatalities or any families to have to go through this. I apologize. And as a final note, I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fatal crash in Lafourche that happened just a few days prior to Thanksgiving, where the 3 young ladies from Luling also lost their lives. Those numbers are not included in the graphic because it was a few days prior, but that crash is no less significant. And I offer my sincere condolences to their families and friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fonseca. File number 2021-0337 is now open for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Is there any council discussion? Please cast your votes for file number 2021-0337. And that motion passes unanimously. Meetings, announcements, notices, etc. Meetings, Community Action Advisory Board, Wednesday, January 12th, 2022, 5 p.m. at the council chambers. Planning and Zoning Commission, Thursday, January 13th, 2022, 6 p.m. council chambers. The Library Board of Control, Tuesday, January 18th, 2022, 6 p.m. council chambers. The Board of Adjustment, ZBA, Thursday, January 20th, 2022, 7 p.m. council chambers. St. Charles Parish Council, January 24th, 6 p.m. council chambers. Parish holiday, Monday, January 17th, 2020, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Special matters to be considered by the council. 2022-001, appointment of a chairman to Operations, Maintenance, and Construction Management Committee. The council chairman should name a councilman to act as chairman for the Operations, Maintenance, and Construction Management Committee as per Council Rule 32. So before I name a council chairman, for a committee chairman, I just want to set some expectations for our committees. The last 2 years have been rough for our committee meetings. Let's all face it, we've been trying to fight stuff in. So what I'm asking us to do is let's make sure we get our committees up and running and have our reviews. I've talked to Parish President Jewell. He has offered his department heads for our committee meetings. Anytime we need a request, he supports our committee's meeting. So some of our responsibilities is to make sure that we use our committees to help the parish administration go through some things, ordinance changes, finance a few different things. So the chairman for the Operations, Maintenance, and Construction Committee for 2022 will be Councilman Nikki Dufresne. 2022-002, appointment of chairman to the Legislative Committee. Council chairman should name a councilman to act as chairman of the Legislative Committee per Chair's Council Rule 32. That would be Councilman Dick Gibbs. 2022-003, appointment of chairman to the Contract Finance Administration Committee. Council chairman should name a councilman to act as chairman of the Contract Finance and Administration Committee. That would be Councilwoman Holly Fonseca. 2022-004, appointment of chairman to the Special Projects, Public Safety and Health and Environmental Committee. That would be Councilwoman Gordon. 2022-005, appointment of chairman to the Hurricane Protection Projects Committee. The council chairman should name a councilman to act as chairman of the Hurricane Protection Projects Committee. Parish Council Room 2, that will be Councilwoman Fisher-Perrier. Again, please just make sure we look at this on our quarterly basis. Get with Michelle to set your meetings up. Also, if there's anything that the administration would like to look through and have the committee meeting, please make sure you go through Michelle so we can do that stuff. I know, Grant, we're going to be most probably facing a lot of up and down tax revenue, so the Finance Committee will be pretty good. Michael, I think you and I spoke about a few ordinances that we may need to do, and then just simply with the amount of projects that we have on the books, I'm sure the Construction Committee could come through with that. So I appreciate it, and I'm thanking you all in advance for your service. A motion and a second is needed to adjourn the meeting. I have a motion by Councilman Dufresne and second by Councilman Gibbs. Please cast your votes to adjourn. Beth, you got to vote.
Yeah, sorry.
Beth, you don't want to leave? And that motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned at 7:22. Thank you. Have a good evening.